we learned from COVID-19 pandemic and how IDG can help us to facilitate the paradigm shift for a more sustainable future. But before that, I would like to share a quote from Da Vinci. He said, "Learn how to see. Realize that everything connects to everything else." And I think for this sentence specifically, I really feel from my immediate research as an aerosol scientist, because aerosol really connects with everything else. Aerosols have close connection with the atmosphere, with water sphere, with biosphere, with lithosphere, and also with cryosphere. So although aerosol cannot be seen from our nude eyes, but it really connects with us and with the environment, everything in our environment. So for me as an aerosol scientist, I think aerosol illuminate the close connectedness among everyone and everything on Earth. I think we have gone through the pandemic of COVID-19 for the past 3 or 4 years, and one of the most important message we have learned is that airborne transmission is the major transmission pathway to spread the COVID-19. And this is the paper that we published at the very beginning of the outbreak of the pandemic, and we try to remind everyone that this SARS-CoV-2 may be transmitted through aerosols. And the evidence has come increasingly being released that show that indeed, especially super spreading event, that is one of the strongest indication that the pandemic is spread through aerosols or through the inhalation and exhalation of virus-laden aerosols. And with droplet or foamine transmission, it couldn't explain the rapid spread and also the scope of this pandemic. So finally, back in 2021, WHO acknowledged the aerosol transmission, or sometimes it's also called airborne transmission, as the main transmission pathway. So here is what the former chief scientist at WHO, she mentioned that when she stepped down, she mentioned that it was the biggest mistake as the chief scientist, not calling SARS-CoV-2 airborne much earlier. And of course, there are quite a lot of inspections and review and why it took so much time to finally say it is airborne. And earlier this year, WHO released this indoor airborne risk assessment. And our paper, the figure of our paper is also shown in this assessment report. Yeah. So the paradigm shift is already ongoing, and we need to upgrade our diseases prevention and control strategy by including airborne precautionary measures. But what lessons we have learned from the COVID-19 pandemic? I think one of the most important message is through the air. It is the air that we breathe in and out every moment that counts, and we are so deeply connected. So breathing is one of the motion that we are constantly practicing. So it takes the harmonious cooperation between human and the trees, because we breathe out the CO2 and breathe in oxygen, while the tree breathe in carbon dioxide, breathe out oxygen. So the other day I found a very hilarious picture that show the close connection we have with the trees. Could we live on Mars? And then a 12-year-old science student plot these figures. So we rely on breathing to sustain life, and from the microscopic molecular level, because so I will not go into too much scientific detail, but just to show that when we breathe in, breathe out, our hemoglobin, that is the main molecule responsible for the oxygen transport, is also vibrating. This resonates with the molecule dancing that we had earlier this morning, and you can see from the infrared spectroscopy that it's really shifting, and that corresponds to the changing of the vibration. Okay, but although the breathing is so crucial to our life, the air we breathe has been polluted. And air pollution has become a global crisis all over the world. And it not only affects the cloud formation microphysics, as the Powell mentioned earlier, it also affects our health. And it has been related with many different diseases, pulmonary diseases, cardiovascular diseases, neurodegenerative diseases. So it's systemic diseases that has been correlated with the air pollution. And so this is a global issue of concern. And as you can see, that this situation is even more severe in Asia. I think every year more than 7 million of premature deaths has been attributed to the polluted air, and 80% of those cases took place in Asia. So when we talk about the SDG, there are 17 SDG that we are trying to accomplish. Although not a single one mentioned about air, however, air has been closely related with all 17 SDGs. And some are the drivers, including the energy or industry or the transportation that may be related, or even the cause of air pollution. And some would be the impacts of the air pollution, like the damage of the environment in water, in the climate, in the ocean, or the land, and even the food. And through the quality education or justice or the global partnership, they can also contribute to help to address the air pollution issues to improve the air quality. And from some literatures, when we talk about the airborne transmission, the majority of the cases take place in the indoor environment. So through the COVID, people begin to become more aware of the importance of the indoor air that we are breathing every day, because we spend pretty much 80% of the time in the indoor environment. And so a group of scientists has suggested that the paradigm shift is necessary to prevent or combat indoor respiratory infection. And there are some strategies to be taken. Of course, we can improve our ventilation. We can add some air filtration or disinfection device. And here are some strategies that can be used to mitigate the risk of airborne transmission. And it includes the individual responsibility, including wearing masks, and the shared responsibility, including evaluating the airflow direction and pattern, and optimize the air ventilation system to enhance the air filtration and disinfection. And here are some lessons that we can try to improve our ventilation through the lesson of COVID-19 pandemic. And I'm not going into the details, but I just want to share with you that this paradigm shift can be realized by taking some actions. And US EPA has announced the Clean Air in Building Challenges back in 2022, and UK has also provided some suggestions or guidelines to improve our buildings or the environment it's time for a major upgrade. And as mentioned by Minister Jen earlier this morning, he cited what Einstein said, that we cannot solve our problems with the same level of thinking that created them. So it is time to make changes. It's a time to make this paradigm shift. So we need to have certain different ways of doing or certain different ways of thinking, and how IDG can help to facilitate the paradigm shift. I think maybe all of you are somewhat familiar with the framework of IDGs. It includes the 5 dimensions: the being, the thinking, the relating, collaborating, and acting. And under each category, there are some different crucial IDG skills. For example, thinking. It is, for example, for the aerosol science, it is highly complex. So by developing this complexity awareness, it helps us to understand how aerosol permeate in our daily life and in our overall ecosystem. And also relating, for example, the connectedness that we have been trying to convey, this oneness or connectedness message from the very beginning of today's event. And collaborating, how can we work together, how can we communicate, how can we co-create a future Earth that we share together. I think here are some helpful IDG skills that can help to facilitate this paradigm shift. So here is a graph that I prepared. If we want to achieve the SDGs, here are some related with the paradigm shift by including the precautionary measure of airborne transmission. As an example, I think some certain IDG really helps. For example, we can develop this inner compass, or by implementing the airborne transmission precautionary measure with integrity. That will help to facilitate the paradigm shift. And by developing the thinking skills, for example, the critical thinking and the complexity awareness, and also the relating, because through the airborne transmission, it is because we are correlated. The moment the air I exhale, it might be the air you inhale in the next moment. And through this air, we are one entity. So here are just some examples that outlines the importance the IDG can help to facilitate the paradigm shift in disease control, to help us to attain a healthy and sustainable environment on the planetary level. And the interconnectedness, the inner compass, or developing or reinforcing the empathy and compassion towards others, or by developing the intercultural competence, inclusive mindset, or communication skills. That will all help to contribute to this paradigm shift. And overall, we have to collaborate together and create a long-term orientation and visioning for clean, pollution-free, pathogen-free air to breathe. And by implementing the precautionary measure with integrity and authenticity and courage to realize those measures would also be highly relevant. And while in the meanwhile, maintaining optimism and the perseverance would also be the key. Yeah, besides the air pollution and the climate changes issue, us as the human mankind, we are facing many other ecological crises. As outlined in the planetary boundaries, there are 9 key processes, including the ocean acidification, the biodiversity loss, the land change, etc. So I think it is really crucial that we come to the common understanding that we are closely related together, as this quote from Einstein, that our task must be to free ourselves from the prison by widening our circle of compassion, to embrace embrace all living creatures and the whole of nature in its beauty. And this actually directly correlated with several IDG skills, including the appreciation, the connectedness, the empathy, and compassion. So here just the final slide that showed that many scientists, including Tesla or Schrödinger and many others, they are constantly addressing the same truth that we share the same planet. We are one, we are closely connected, and our separation is only optical illusion of consciousness. So once we accept our limit, we get a chance to go beyond them. So this is the final slide to show that it is when we see, also echoes JC's slide, only when we see from a distance we are able to comprehend that we are all on the same planet. And all air, water, continents, and us are interconnected. This is our home. And it's time that we work together to co-create the living environment, the planet that we wish for. So by that, I hope we can start to make some changes or work together to restore the homeostasis of Earth and everything on it, and to make our living environment and the air cleaner, healthier, and all of us healthier. So this is my last presentation to share for today, and I hope that you have all get some helpful information to take home today. And it is again my great pleasure to have today's event, and I really am very thankful for all the distinguished speakers and our collaborators and all the participants to join us to co-create today's event, and including our friends online from different countries all over the world. And I think, do we have any questions or comment? Or actually, I was gonna ask Noah if you like to give some concluding remark, or Professor Wang. Yeah, and or bye.